Morning, everybody. I guess I should say afternoon since it's noon. Welcome to the lending report for March. What is it? March 14th, 2025. Thanks for joining me today. So let's get right into it. Starting with mortgage applications showing increased activity still. Purchases up 7% this week and refinances up 16%. So still a lot of activity there as we see improvements in the MBS markets, which translates to slightly better interest rates. We're seeing a bit more activity right now. Jobless claims, those filing for the first time, were down 2,000 week over week and continuing down 27,000. So again, we're continuing to see this positive and negative alternating back and forth week over weeks, which has been interesting. Now this week we got the JOLTS report, and this gives us some information about what the market looks like in terms of hiring. And I wanted to show you just a few slides. This showing the hire rate since basically January of 2022. This is just after the COVID, kind of the COVID period ended. We saw a massive influx in hiring after all that ended. But you can see here over the past couple of years, we're subtly moving down. The hire rate is definitely slowing. And maybe that's why it's kind of flown under the radar with all these jobs reports. But maybe with what's happening in the industry right now in the economy, we do see that higher rate slowing, and that could translate into some of the buzz we're hearing about recession now. Of course, the new administration taking over and all the changes that we're having with tariffs, a lot of uncertainty in the market. But I do want you to see that even before this new administration took over, there has been a trend lower in the hire rate. Also, you can see for the year of 2024, all the revisions that were made to the numbers. There was only 1 month, that was in July, where the numbers were actually revised positive. Everything else was revised lower. So we continue to see these strong reports coming out, and then the months that follow, the revisions to the prior month's reports. And that doesn't get reported on a lot. We hear all the sensation behind what's being currently reported, but nobody talks about those revisions for prior months, and that has continually shown to be decreased month over month. Again, for 2024, July being the only exception. Also, this week, we did get some forecast on GDP. I did bring the information to you last week about Atlanta, doing their projections and making it, showing it negative 2.4 for their revisions. But you can also see Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs also lowering their expectations for GDP, showing the expectation that consumer spending will slow down. And this is now in the talks, a recession not being eliminated from the discussions at this point, which I had talked about a year ago, and nobody ever said recession, but we certainly had all the indications. Now more people talking about it based on what's been going on, and you can see Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, and Morgan Stanley, all their estimates showing increased probability of a recession. We'll see how it all plays out. Now, this week, we did get CPI. This is the headline number. This was today, so we haven't had a lot of commotion around the CPI numbers. It wasn't bad. It wasn't necessarily good. It was just kind of midland, really. Month over month, coming up 0.2%, and you can see year over year, it actually did come down just a hair. So that was positive. But within the headline number, I wanted you to see that eggs, which has been all of the rage, all of the discussions, people talking about campaign promises and the cost of eggs going up, did show month over month up 10.4%. So I did want to point that out to you. It does make up the majority also of the food increases that we've seen. It makes up a lot of that number. And then the core number, this is the number the feds really do pay attention to. Core number coming up 0.2% month over month. Year over year did actually tick down 0.2%, but not a lot of excitement over that, unfortunately. Shelter still being one of those drivers does make up 44% of the core number. We can see that numbers are, they are positive for the month, but they are actually better than what we've seen in the last couple of months. So maybe this is an indication that the lag effect we see from the shelter component may be finally starting to catch up, because we're used to seeing, 4 or 5 tenths month over month increase. Now we're at, about a quarter, 0.2528%. Month over month. And I just wanted to see this within the other components that make up this number. Airlines, the fares down 4% to 4 points there. Very interesting, because there's been a lot of talk now and a lot of issues in the airline industry right now. So that is slowing. And then motor vehicles still trending up a little bit, up 0.3% month over month, up 11% year over year. So that's where we're at with the core number. So let's actually get into the MBS charts, and you can see today, right now, we're up just a little bit. It's been kind of a little trajectory down this week. We've lost a little bit of footing, but it hasn't been dramatic. We certainly haven't lost the ground that we've made up over the last 3 weeks, which has been really nice. So we're still hanging in there. If you're thinking about buying, still a really good time. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Happy to answer any of your questions. Otherwise, have a great weekend. Hopefully it will warm up a little bit for us. The earlier part of this week was super nice to see it in the 70s. But thanks for watching. Have a great day. I'll see you next week.